TG Geeks, episode 226, June 17th, 2019, Dragons and Drama. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, the monsoon started, Phoenix, Arizona, at least according to the date.
Did it? Oh, that's right. They
That's
now
right.
have a calendar. Well, this is Ben Raggington, also coming to you from a place where I don't think the monsoon has really started, because I do not believe in this whole date thing. It needs to be based on the weather.
It's based on the scientific method.
Yes, the weather here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah, so let's get started with this.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
Well, as part of our celebration of Pride Month, we have author Walt Wright, who wrote the book Brimstones Knight, and we're going to talk to him. We have our birthday shout-outs, as always, our featured podcast of the week. We've got a little bit of shaking up of the episode again, just moving things around a little bit to make it fit better together, and everybody's favorite feedback. Then we have our second segment, our weekly recap, and a few shout-outs, and the end. So we're going to just start with our interview with Walt right now. And this time on our show, we have Walt Wright, who has just released in January, actually, the book Brimstones Knight, which is part of a series that he is planning to write. Welcome to the show, Walt.
Well, it's glad to be on here.
Yeah, so why don't you tell us, who is Walt Wright, and how did you get into writing? I know that you've had a career doing several other things, and you've got you're a painter and an artist and a writer, and you've released several other things. So tell us about yourself and what we can expect here.
Well, I was born in Winston-Salem back in 1956. Grew up in a foster home, actually. I have lived at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, several years. Back when I was in high school, I took a creative writing course. I had more than enough points to graduate, and so I just felt a little curious about writing. I've always had an interest in it. Tried a couple of children's books, self-published. They did not do well. And I thought, well, I heard another writer saying you should write what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, science fiction, and that's always been one of my main interests. And I've also always been interested in the history of the Templar Knights.
Right.
So I began to wind all this together and decided to try to write a trilogy. And at first I was going to call the book Primus, but it seems there was a book already titled that at the time coming out by a self-publisher. So I switched over to Brimstones Knight. The cover of the book is actually part of my artwork. I do a painting on canvas using acrylic paints, and each of the three books that I'm writing will have my artwork featured on the cover.
Oh, that's nice.
But I got into writing the book and bringing in all the factors that I wanted into it, such as the Templar Knights, the history of Constantine and the Council of Trent, and many other little factors like that I worked in. I've had a lot of experience as an administrator for a technology company for many years, and I just enjoyed working with people and talking with people, and there was a lot of messages that needed to be, I think, reiterated to the public, and one of them is bigotry. We need to address that issue and be done with it.
Yeah.
Racism is another. And I know after tweeting off and on with MJ Rodriguez, who is on Pose, if you're familiar with that TV program, and she said in one of her tweets that she thought it was time that transgenders be represented and show that they too can be superheroes and they can fight. And so later in the book, near the last few chapters, I introduce a transgender by the name of Ashley, and Ashley was Ashton, and the last name is Strongbow. And she bonds with one of the dragons. It's a Vulcan dragon, very powerful dragon. And this transgender, she's somewhat vulnerable, but when it comes down to it, she can fight and she can contribute greatly to the cause.
Right.
And so I was glad to introduce that character in the book, because in book 2, which is Brimstones Knight 2, Fall of Wormwood, she becomes a very major factor.
Right. So tell us. You kind of got ahead on the stories. Tell us originally what the Brimstones Knight. It's more of it's drama and dragons. I think is what I would say.
That's a new genre now. Drama and dragons.
It's a mixture of religion, Knight Templar history, all wrapped up in a modern world. So we're not talking about back in the 16th century. We're talking about in the not too distant future.
Right, and actually with dragons too, and the smell of dragons. Yeah. I used that when I walked in someplace. I said, "It smells like dragons in here."
Yes. I had a friend that emailed me and said they went to the Cinnabon store at the mall, and she had read the book, and she just said out loud, "Smells like dragons in here." And one of the employees immediately turned around and said, "You've read Brimstones Knight."
Whoa!
I thought that was kind of comical, in the fact that people are reading the book.
Yeah.
And it's getting quite popular, actually, internationally.
I enjoyed it tremendously. So
it's quite an adventure.
Yeah. So tell us about that adventure without kind of giving too much of the story away. It's more of a journey of self-discovery, I guess, for a young man.
Yes.
Among others.
Well, it starts off in chapter 1, and this the chapter that gets everyone's attention. It describes the kind of mentality of Southern Baptist churches, basicly, and their hatred toward gays.
We just lost all those listeners now.
Oh dear! Like we
had any Southern Baptist listeners.
I don't think we had any, dude. So it's not a problem.
So anyway, there's a conflict with the church and between the dragons, and it's all over. I don't want to really give too much away, but
right.
Children's mental and physical health are endangered by these
the so-called people of God. Yes.
We'll call them.
Yeah.
And so there is a conflict between the Knights and the church, and it comes down to a major battle. And the battle is actually taking place with different Knights around the country. The dragons have been around since the beginning of time, but they are very well hidden. They're not supposed to expose themselves to man until this final conflict starts. But basically, the first book is about the fall of the church.
Right.
The second book will be about the tribulation period and the fall of asteroid known as Wormwood. And the third book, of course, will deal with apocalypse.
Wow, this is very, very revelations that you're going here.
Yes, yeah. So there is a lot of religion mixed in, but in a very fictional manner with the dragons and the knights. They will fight and deal with a lot of issues, as they have in book 1. As you know, there's a powerful druid that comes after our hero,
right.
Commander Eric Hampton.
Yep.
His him, and so the story is wrapped around their relationship and all the things that they're going through to try to save the world that they love and to make things right for everyone.
Right. So this is when I started reading it. Obviously, the first chapter is quite a shock and a slap in the face. But when the actual book starts, and then it's as things become revealed later on, then you say, I see now. You had to kind of start off with that shock, and then you can kind of build up into what caused that shock and caused the problems and tie those characters back in, which I thought was a really good touch there. I mean, even though it was like, oh my God, what the heck is this all about? And then, but I loved the book. I enjoyed it tremendously. The dragons and you fell right into my love of dragons and the Knights Templar and, history and religion and all of that kind of stuff. So it was...
it was very much in his wheelhouse.
Yeah. So tell us, what was the impetus for telling this story, or what caused you, other than your interest in Knights Templar? How did it all kind of coalesce and come together?
Yeah, was there some kind of little idea?
Personally, I've had a lot of conflict with the church. I grew up in the Baptist church and was very involved with the youth and what have you. But it seems because I wasn't married, they automatically got the sense I must be gay. Well, that's fine, but there's nothing wrong with it if I'm serving in the church.
Right.
But apparently a lot of people in the church don't feel that way. But I felt like that conflict needed to be brought out and dealt with. The problem is not with the LGBT community. The problem is within the church and their interpretation of the scriptures to begin with.
Right.
As you know, there's...
You'll have no argument there from us.
Yeah, we agree.
There's like over 144 different religious faiths in the U.S. alone and thousands worldwide. And one statement I make in the foreword of the book is all religions believe that their God to be the one true God.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they all have that attitude. And the fact is, they can't all be right.
Mm-hmm.
However, they could all be wrong.
Ooh, that's
going to be woven in throughout the trilogy of the series.
That's gonna irritate a lot of people. But I applaud you for taking that kind of courageous stance there.
Yeah, and also to be able to portray the relationships and the Templars and the dragons. I mean, everything is very well told and very tactful in the way that you've addressed all of these situations, and I really appreciate that.
Well, I thought of, how should I write it? Should I write it in first person, third person, whatever? And I thought, well, in a narrative form would be the best.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I went with. And that way, a lot of the thoughts and the concepts that they're dealing with can be addressed in between the conversations.
Right. And as a narrative form, you're able to switch and say, okay, we're going to tell this person's story over here without it being a first-person narrative, if you will. So that person had to be there in order to tell that story. But in the narrative form that you've chosen, you can switch back and forth and dip in and out of the various places that the story takes place, which is great.
I thought that format would be the best way to go with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that talk, that tell the story from a first person or a third person, or that's the general gist of most of them, but the narrative seems to work for this book tremendously. So Ben has a question that he always asks every author.
I love to ask writers of this. Well, there's two, and I'm going to ask my first one, and that is, okay, so first off, obviously there's a lot of world building that you need to employ here, whether it is on the printed page or not. clearly you have to understand your world in order to be able to create this believable story that you're telling everybody. So how much research did you have to go through in order to be able to create this? And then are you what we call in writer parlance, are you a plotter or a pantser? Meaning, do you write by the seat of your pants, or did you really methodically plot the whole thing out in order to be able to tell this particular story?
Well, I did pretty much lay out a summary of how I wanted the book to begin and how I wanted the trilogy to proceed and end up. A lot of different things that I came up with were ideas that happened along the way as I was writing.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the episode with the druid, there is a creature called a golem,
Right.
which is from Hebrew history. That came about as I was writing, and I thought, well, here's an opportunity for the knights to show their unity and their determination.
Right.
So I started working that in. But I've always had a very creative mind because I am an artist. And my first book signing was actually a book signing / art exhibit. And that was held in Abington, Virginia, and did extremely well. There was a lot of interest. Very well attended.
Okay, so my second question would then be, being that you've got these characters that are sort of living in your head, did you find, and I kind of think I know where this is going to go based on something you said a few moments ago, but did you find yourself actually kind of bowing to the whims of those characters? I mean, did they start to come alive in your head to the point where, as you were writing, you could almost like hear their voices, to the point where it was almost like you felt like you were taking dictation based on what they were saying and doing?
It was kind of like, as I was writing, I could picture it in my head as to what was taking place, as if I was watching a video or something.
Mm-hmm.
It was just creative thoughts going through my head and concepts of, what they would look like and how they would act.
And how much of that became spontaneous? Because I'm fascinated.
Sorry, hear that?
Oh, how much of that became spontaneous? Because I've spoken to a number of authors, and there are a few of them that have said they'd be writing their story in a particular fashion, and then all of a sudden they get this image, or they hear this voice in their head that says, "Oh no, this is what has to happen." And then they start taking these really unusual, unexpected turns. I mean, not to the point where it completely derails where they want the story to go, but they find that it actually takes a better organic flow. And I'm kind of wondering if you had any kind of experience in that, because I'm always fascinated.
A little bit, yeah, I did. A little bit. There was areas where I thought I had finished that chapter, and I thought, well, no, I didn't quite make the point I wanted to make. And so I went back and started rewriting and enhancing what I had already written. And so, yeah, there were some spontaneous thoughts and concepts that came into mind that required that I go back and rework.
Right.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So some authors have told us that they start writing and they kind of write themselves into a corner until they come back around where the character said, well, I told you not to go there, so you have to go back and now you have to fix this. And
Yeah.
write the character the way it's supposed to be written, or write the scene or whatever the way it's supposed to be written, and then it kind of freed up that writer's block.
Yeah, we've spoken to a number of authors, just a couple of them where I've said, where the voice is actually in their head, no, this is what happened, and then the writer has to acquiesce to that character's wishes, which is a very interesting psychological disorder, if you ask me. But hey, there it is.
It makes a good story.
Right, yeah. For instance, it's important that I think when you're writing that the things that take place are in proper character with that particular person.
Absolutely.
In other words, as you see, Eric is trying to be as honest and wholesome and helpful as he can be. So it would be wrong for him, say, to verbally attack someone.
Right.
Because it's not his nature.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And, of course, the character Claude, he's a very intellectual type person and very much more emotional than
Right.
Eric is. And so you have to stay true to their character as you're writing, because if you don't, then you kind of lose that little concept that you're trying to carry out to the end of the book.
Right, and readers are going to pick up on that too, because they tend to be very astute, and they'll sense if all of a sudden there's something disingenuous happening with a particular character or not, especially if they become fond of the character, and then they say, wait a minute, this is completely out of line with what this person should be doing. So
Right.
it's good that you had that.
Yeah. So tell us, you have the second book is imminent. Isn't that correct? The Wormwood?
I already have sent it to my proofreaders
Oh, wow.
to go through it. So it's moving along very well. I think it's going to be the book that really pushes sales of the first book, because what's happening in Fall of Wormwood is a biblical prophecy that comes to pass.
Right.
But I have stretched it out into sci-fi, where there's a lot of mutations and creatures that are just unimaginable.
Right.
But you have to know the characters, and you have to know what they've been through so far in order to really enjoy the second book.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that's well, I just based on that recommendation or what you just said there alone, you've already piqued my interest. So, for our listeners who are out there who have not heard of your books thus far, shame on you, listener. Where can they find your books? Where are they made available? And where can they find you? I mean, do you have any kind of social media presence by which they can follow what you're doing at the present time?
Well, the book is available in hardback, paperback, and ebook editions. It was published by Austin Macaulay, which they've been excellent publishers to work with. The book is available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. It's even available on eBay. Overseas, it's Waterstones, Foils, Loot, Boomerang. So it's out there. And if anyone just does a Google of Brimstones Knight by W. Wright, you'll see all kinds of things pop up.
And what about any social? Okay.
I'm on Twitter.
Okay.
I'm on Twitter at WWG Tablet. That stands for Google Tablet, by the way.
Very, very good.
WWG Tablet. And I have a website, and it was originally for my artwork, but I have switched it over for my book for the time being, and that's wrightartist.com. And there are links there to the video for the second book. And YouTube has both videos, the one for the first one and for the second.
Well, that's
there's
great.
A lot of exposure on the internet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's really good. So, well, thank you so much for being on the show with us this time.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate it, and we
look forward to the next book.
Yes, very much so. Very excited about it.
Well, I hope to have it off to the publisher within a month. But I don't know for sure. I'm waiting on my proofreaders. I may have to go back to redo something that I overlooked or messed up, and that's why I have my own little group of proofreaders to help me through the final stages.
Right. Well, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you very much for.
I've really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Ginny Koch, author of the Alien Catherine Kitty Cat series from Daw Books, part of Penguin Random House, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks Webcast.
Well,
the
Webcast.
That was a few.
Lots of wine.
Lots of wine.
Lots of wine that night. Yeah.
That was a really good interview with Walt.
It was
interesting, fascinating book.
It is very interesting. I am now because you read it before I had a chance to. I was in the middle of some other books when you finished it. And now I started it yesterday. I'm 65% done with it. And all I can say is, oh boy, what a ride.
Exactly. And here's a few selected birthdays for June 17th through June 23rd, 2019. June 17th, Barry Manilow, M.C. Escher, Charles Gounod, who was a famed opera composer.
I thought it was a Klingon.
Yes, that's
God,
Gaunod. That's Gaunod.
That's such a cheap joke. I apologize, people. I'm so sorry I went there.
And Igor Stravinsky, Arthur Darvill, and Burt Rutan, who was one of the... he's just been involved in the aerospace industry forever and doing all kinds of crazy stuff still to this day. June 18th, Sir Paul McCartney.
A Beatle.
Roger Ebert.
Not a Beatle.
Not a Beatle. Isabella Rossellini. Carol Kane. Christopher Lloyd. And Robert Mondavi.
Carol Kane. Liar!
Liar! I'm not a witch. I'm your wife.
This one, I wish you were. Oh, whatever. I can't remember the line anymore. It's been too long.
June 19th, Zoe Saldana, Paula Abdul, Lou Gehrig, and Pat Bartram.
Oh, my.
Who, remember Pat Bartram?
I do remember Pat Bartram.
Mr. Haney.
Mr. Haney.
Mr. Haney from Green Acres, as well as he did all kinds of other... he was a character actor, was in over 40 films and... lots of voiceover acting and all kinds of stuff.
I think he was in might have been Back to the Future 3.
Yeah. June 20th, Nicole Kidman, John Goodman, Errol Flynn, Martin Landau, Anne Murray, Chet Atkins, who was a wonderful
phenomenal
guitarist, and Jacques Offenbach, who was another famed opera composer. Friend of ours, Mel Asher, Debbie Bunch, and... 5 years ago, TG Geeks came into being. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to us. June 21st, Chris Pratt, Jane Russell.
Oh, my.
And Al Hirschfeld. June 22nd, Meryl Streep, Cyndi Lauper, Bruce Campbell, Billy Wilder, famed director, and Paul Frees.
Oh, the man with the voice.
The man with the voice. You've probably heard him everywhere. He was most famous. I won't say most famous, but he was most famous to anybody that's gone to Disneyland as the ghost host at the Haunted Mansion. June 23rd, Bob Fosse, Alan Turing, and Joss Whedon. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad?
Not me.
That's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper
It's a legitimate site now.
That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to our friends Chuck and Craig over at Technorama, and I played that in honor of the Technorama pool party that we were at yesterday. And got to see all kinds of people, and got to see the Podfather.
Podfather was
Michael
back.
Armenegay.
Oh, what a joy it was to see him.
It was great. So go check him out at Technorama.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
And everybody knows what that means. What does that mean?
You're asking me.
Huh?
You asking me?
I'm asking you.
Oh, please.
It's
Feedback. What else? What else could it be at this time? So, yes, starting off with, this is in regards to TG Geeks episode number 222, and we kind of gave a little birthday shout-out to Bob Nelson, and he says, aw, thanks, guys. And we also talked a little bit about the movie Jumper, and we got a comment from Ayman Saman, who is the writer, director, actor of that movie, that short film, and he says, you are the best, thank you. And then this is in regards to a movie review that Ro had put out for Tolkien, and she said it's not a portrait of the artist. And we got a comment from Jared Lacey. This is on Instagram, and all he had to say was, well said. This is all in regards to her review. And then we have something in regards to Erin's Arcade of Words reviews. She looks at the sequels, issue number 4, the final chapter. And we got a comment from the sequels, the people, the Facebook presence, the sequels, and they said thank you for the wonderful review. And then we got a comment from Fanbase Press, and they're the ones who put out the sequels. They're the ones who published it, and they say thank you so much. I should point out that all of these articles that I'm referring to will be in the show notes for this episode. So go take a look at tggeeks.com.
Yep, exactly.
And then this is in regards to how Festival de Cannes special coverage, the American Pavilion presents the Jumper premiere. Got a comment from Patricia Chica, and she says she's running around like crazy here. Love this coverage. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And then we got, following in that same vein, this is in regards to Festival de Cannes special coverage, Julie Sisk, founder of the American Pavilion, interview. We interviewed Julie Sisk, again, founder of the American Pavilion, directly from Cannes. You could hear the entire commotion going on behind her. It was pretty far out.
Yeah.
And we got a comment from Cheek Art Public Relations, and this is on Twitter. They said, great interview with Julie Sisk, founder of the American Pavilion. Thank you, TG Geeks, for mentioning Jumper by director, writer, and actor Ayman Saman and co-producer and actress Rasha Mohammed as part of the Emerging Filmmaker Showcase.
You bet.
And then to close this all off, and this one's very personal to me, and this is in regards to my review for Avengers Endgame. I got a comment from a dear friend of mine, Julie Marshall. I've known Julie going way back. And
as long as you've known Corey?
Almost. She says, don't know if you're still talking about Endgame, but we just saw it last night. Wow. This has taken us full circle and then some. Your review was spot on. My favorite character's story ended up wonderfully amid all the great highs and tear-jerking lows. This is now my favorite movie of all time. Thanks for all you both do to help out the world of geekdom. On a more funny note, while we were watching all the videos on YouTube about Endgame, one of the funniest comments was talking about Endgame ending up as just being a hallucination of Tony Stark due to lack of oxygen. Ha ha.
Yeah, that would be great.
Wow, man, that would just really irritates.
Wouldn't that just make your noodle?
Tell me about it. I mean, that's really just going to fry a lot of people's brains if that really were the case.
Exactly.
And that is our feedback for this episode.
And if you want to leave a comment on anything that we do, whether it is on one of our episodes like you're listening to here, or you can comment on the articles that we publish on tggeeks.com. So for those that are only listening to the podcast or the webcast, you can go to tggeeks.com and read all of our other content. You can look at Facebook. We post everything to Facebook. We post everything to Twitter and to Instagram, and you can comment in all of those places as well as on tggeeks.com. We even have a listener line if you want to leave a voicemail feedback, and we'll play that on air. You can call 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. No, it's not the end of the show. We usually used that sound for the end of the show. But before we move on to the rest of the show, we wanted to make you aware of some additional content that we have on our website. We now have more interviews than we can actually release in episode format. And every time, I mean, we just can't put 2 interview segments in an episode.
It doesn't fit.
It runs over the 1-hour time slot that we're allotted for Krypton Radio. So we had to make a choice to release these interviews as standalone articles. Please check out the website for the interviews that we have done as standalone articles. There is some wonderful content and some wonderful interviews with some wonderful people. And can I say wonderful anymore?
No, you can't. But I would also add that if you follow us on any social media platform, be it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, maybe one day MySpace when we finally decide to do something about that,
Yep.
you will be notified
Yep,
of when
absolutely.
these individual standalone interviews actually take place. And just because we're releasing them as standalone does not diminish the quality of the
Absolutely
interview.
not. It's
We're
still the same.
It is still the same quality of interview as you hear in these episodes themselves.
Absolutely. And we've got a couple of clips here. We're going to first do a clip of Gene Turnbow that we did at WhedonCon. So here's a clip of Gene. Welcome to TGGeeks.com.
Yeah, and that ukulele intro can only mean one thing.
We have Mr. Gene Turnbow. He is the station manager, CEO, janitor, jack of all trades for Krypton Radio. Welcome to the show, Gene.
Thank you very much.
And
Glad to be here.
We actually
Happy to
have
be here.
him. Yeah,
We have him in studio.
in the studio at the Hilton LAX on the
on the runway of LAX,
Yes.
LAX Airport.
So we are here at WhedonCon 2019, and he happens to be here, and we thought we would chat him up a bit.
Yeah, and we have until Flight 679 comes through and wants to use this runway.
Yeah, exactly. Then we have to abandon it. Flight 679 to Copenhagen. And then we have it was a really great interview.
great
with
conversation.
Gene talking about Krypton Radio and their 10 years on the air and all of the things that they've got.
future.
Oh, yeah,
well,
everything
some
going on.
exciting things.
And we also have a little clip from Barbara and Bryant Dillon of Fanbase Press, and we had them in the show or in the studio at LAX, Hilton LAX on the runway, and we're going to play that little clip for you right now.
It's obviously a place for anyone who is into geekdom or geeky endeavors. I'm sure they'll find something on the website that they enjoy. And it got started because Barbara and I, having shared the last name, we are not siblings. We're actually husband and wife, and we are co-founders of the company. We started off with a third co-founder almost 10 years ago, and with our first graphic novel, that was sort of the impetus of the company. We made a graphic novel that focused on reinventing the vampire genre, and we needed to create content and an audience. So I guess we needed to create an audience, so we developed content, and it kind of snowballed from there. You know, we found it enjoyable to be part of the comic book world. We enjoyed helping other creators, and we enjoyed creating things ourselves. So 9 years later, we're still going strong.
Yeah, so you started this just right after you got married then, right?
We did. It was about the same time.
Yeah,
I
the
think
founding
least,
year is the same year as our...
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a really great interview.
It's a wonderful conversation
If you
with them.
want to know more about Fanbase Press, please go and listen to that interview that we did with Barbara and Bryant Dillon. They are great supporters of ours and great supporters of indie creators. It is really a great thing that they are doing.
It was a fantastic conversation, and there was some really good topics that got covered there.
Yeah. If you are in transition or have already transitioned and are in crisis, or you know of someone in crisis, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by specially trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. or you can go to thetranslifeline.org for more information about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
And now it's time for our second segment.
Yes, and we got a few things we want to touch on.
A couple of things.
A couple of movie reviews first. These are movie reviews that we ran on our website just this last week. And first, we're going to touch on Toy Story 4. Yes, we got to see that. Now, if anybody wants to know what my thoughts are on this film, just go to our website at tggeeks.com. You can find it there. And again, we will have the link for that review in the show notes for this episode at tggeeks.com.
Absolutely.
So my thoughts are there, and I know that people are already branding me as a heretic for my review.
Yeah.
But Keith, please, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was a good film. There were lots of good jokes.
There were some fantastic jokes.
Animation, they just continue to get better and better and better at animating human beings and people and just the animation period. However, the story left me feeling a little empty and just incomplete. It didn't resonate with me like the other Toy Story films and all that. It just left me with a little bit of disappointment. I mean, not to say that it's not a bad film,
not a bad
by
movie.
any means.
No.
It is a good film. It just left me with a sense of disappointment.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
And that's about all I can say about it without giving anything away.
Then you go to spoiler territory.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that. I mean, maybe later on in a couple of weeks when it's had time to be out for a while, we'll talk about it some more.
You and I are an island unto ourselves.
I know.
Though.
We always are, though. We always are.
This movie is, I mean, it got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
100% fresh.
And, Frozen did the same thing, and that movie just did nothing for me.
And everybody, there's a number of movies that really did well with crowds that, for you and I, they just did not. They just didn't ring any bells for us.
And then there's other films that people just hated, and we really
kind of really liked them. So.
I mean, Atlantis was one.
Oh, I loved Atlantis.
And Lilo and Stitch for for some people. I mean, that one's kind of on the fence. Most people are on the fence about that one. Some are on the either side, but we loved that film.
Yeah. So I mean, we're our reviews, our opinions on these things. I mean, these are just this is what it meant to us. We're not trying to say that our opinion is the only right one. Obviously not. I mean, if you enjoyed it, great. I'm happy for you.
Yep.
I really am. So, moving on. Oh, no.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes. The ultimate zombie movie.
Yes, the ultimate zombie catastrophe apocalypse.
This is...
off the rails.
Off the rails. The movie's called The Dead Don't Die, starring Bill Murray and Adam Driver.
God.
Wow.
And the names that are in this film, I mean,
the cast is amazing.
Adam Driver, Bill Murray, Carol Kane, Tilda Swinton, oh my gosh, just
Steve Buscemi.
Geez,
the number of people.
Everybody.
This movie is just loaded with some really great actors. And it is just
crazy.
It is it's a mess deliberately.
Oh, yes, it is.
If a movie could ever be self-aware, this is it.
Absolutely.
I have never seen a movie that is this self-aware. It is amazing.
Exactly.
I mean, it is so meta in its self-awareness. I mean, you have to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
There were some jokes.
Just when you think it couldn't get crazier,
it does. It gets wilder.
Oh my God.
My review is out there, and I will give this one little. I don't know if I can call it a spoiler or not, but you have to see this at least for Tilda Swinton, because how many morticians do you know who are also Scottish samurai?
Exactly.
And her when the way she treats the bodies, before they're buried.
Oh my
holy
Lord!
cow!
Yes.
It's like, okay, are you trying to dress up drag queens? I don't know. I mean, it's just so insane.
It is.
And then the dialogue between Bill Murray and Adam Driver is just wild.
It is craziness.
I mean, I've never seen anybody out dry deliver Bill Murray
Exactly.
until Adam Driver. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
the movie is fantastic.
Yep.
It is so wild. I mean, it's a piece of art.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
It is worth going to see. Go see The Dead Don't
Absolutely
Die.
see
It is the
it. It is a
craziest film.
really crazy hoot. I loved it.
Yeah. And next, I think we want to talk about the Technorama pool party. And
Yeah.
we mentioned it earlier. It's a yearly thing. It used to be the
Farpoint.
The Farpoint Media pool party that went on for years and years, and then the pool party came with the house.
It came with the house, yeah.
Chuck
As everything comes with the house. Once Chuck Tomasi bought the house from Mike Meningay.
Yep, everything came.
Everything
with the
came with the house.
The studio, we did,
yeah.
The pool party,
The people.
the people,
Yeah.
everything else. But it was really good to see Mike Meningay. He had just moved back from Las Vegas, and he was there. It was good to see Jack Mangan and his wife and a little girl. Oh my gosh!
Oh, she's so growing.
Yeah, and just everybody that was there. It was good time, good food, just great company.
Yeah.
Brian Brown and Mary. And,
Tim Adamick was there with his
Tim Adamick and Sharon.
Yeah,
and
it was a really enjoyable day.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a great time sitting around the. We didn't even go out. I didn't even go outside.
I didn't go outside, no, because first I was playing a game. They had this new kind of game it's like a Pictionary version of Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah,
and it's about just as crude. And then we had karaoke in the living room.
Scarioke.
Yeah, karaoke. Yeah.
No, it wasn't scary.
It wasn't scary. No.
You guys did a great job. I sat there and listened. It was a great time.
We had a very enjoyable time.
Yeah, and then we kind of packed up and left.
Yeah,
it was time. But that was the annual Technorama pool party, and thanks to Chuck and Donna for hosting that once again and for seeing everybody. And we are going to do a couple of our shout-outs here. We have, as everybody knows, we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or other. We want to let you know that it is important to support independent creators. Talk about their stuff, buy their stuff, tell other people about them, encourage them to go look at the things that they do, whether it's art or comic books or, who knows, writers. There's a lot of people that are publishing independently and independent filmmakers. Watch their films, go to film festivals, check them out online, check out the Kickstarters and the Indiegogo campaigns that they have for some movies. You can't go wrong with some of this stuff. Please support independent creators. And, of course, we've got the CocoCon that returns for a second year. The Labor Day weekend at the DoubleTree Hotel at Metro Center in Phoenix. Come on down and enjoy the folks and the festivities. There's going to be lots of people there. We will be there, and we're going to be doing our popular concasts as well as socializing. Go to cococon.org, and that's COCOCON.org. And we want to let you know about the Joshua Tree Feeding Program. The goal of Joshua Tree Feeding Program is to provide nourishment to low-income, HIV-positive residents of Maricopa County. They provide balanced meals from the pantry, and it is a pantry. It's exactly like a grocery store where people go in and choose what they want, and instead of getting a box of food, they get what they want and things that they need for toiletries, cat food, dog food.
Yeah, even their pets. I think that's
even
awesome.
Vitamins, that they have somebody that comes in and looks at the vitamins and lets the clients know what they can take and what's has expired. They get rid of that stuff. So if you want to support Joshua Tree, go to jtfp.org, and you can make a single gift or a monthly recurring gift, which will help them. And now Ben is going to do a weekly recap of what we posted last week on the website.
Yeah, starting with Sunday, June 9th, Dr. Zombie, Monster Family Physician number 52.
1 year of Dr. Zombie. And then Tommy promptly went on vacation.
Did he?
He did. He went to San
but
Diego with.
Okay, but he gave us a whole bunch of extras, so it's not like he's going to miss anything.
I know.
Good guy, Tommy. And then also, we published TG Geeks Concast from WhedonCon 2019, episode number 3, as well as TG Geeks Chat with Gene Turnbow of Krypton Radio. You heard a 1-minute segment from that. On Monday, June 10th, TG Geeks episode number 225. On Tuesday, the 11th, TG Geeks Chat with Barbara and Brian Dillon of Fanbase Press. You also heard a 1-minute excerpt from that. And then on June 12th, Ben's Breakdown, The Dead Don't Die is a zombie movie that will have you questioning your sanity. Mm-hmm. And we had an article from Rose. She writes, This Week in Home Entertainment, Captain Marvel. It's a Blu-ray review. And then on Thursday, June 13th, Ben's Breakdown of the movie Lake Night. And I said that it fails to talk or laugh. And then Ben's Breakdown, oh my God, this Ben guy, he's busy. Toy Story 4 is like a defective toy out of the box. Ouch. And then on Friday, June 14th, News Sushi number 66, morsels of news from Japan and beyond from Hamish Downey. And Hickerson is back. Hicks Picks. Doctor Who, The Faceless Ones is restored for a home video release. That is a really interesting article. If you're a Doctor Who fan, check that one out. There's a lot more than just The Faceless Ones. Take a look at it.
Absolutely.
And then, to close it all off, Saturday, June 15th, 5 questions with Chris Rathbone, and that article also came from Hamish Downey. And there it is.
In his wildly popular now 5 Questions With series that he's done. Oh my gosh,
that's really getting a lot of traffic.
Getting a lot of traffic. It's a little mini interview that he does via email or something. I'm not sure how exactly he does that. He hasn't shared that, but it's really popular. You can find all these things at tggeeks.com as well as entries on our Facebook page. Please visit and comment on those items.
Is that done?
It's done.
Okay, got a couple of shout-outs here. First, to the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News. It is put out by Brian Weber. He is the Human Arkle on Twitter, and you can find it by searching Twitter at Arkle, A-R-K-L-E. And we mention that because they like to republish our content from time to time. And do we want to mention his other stuff right? Yes. Yes, we do, because he's bringing back the shameless cash grab on YouTube.
There you
go. All you got to do is go to youtube.com/Arkle Studios. That's all one word. And you can find the shameless cash grab there. And we need to give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to their moderators for quite literally telling us to go ahead and share away our content, and we're happy to do so. And their URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for also allowing us to share all of our geeky stuff on their page. And the URL is facebook.com/group/thegaygeek, all one word. And we must give our special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves, for not only giving us permission to share our content there, but he has liked the content that we have shared there, and we greatly appreciate that. Thank you, Jeremiah.
Thank you, Jeremiah, and thank you to the Gay Geeks After Hours.
Yes.
And lastly, you can now find us on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays. Go ahead and listen to their other content that they have there. They're celebrating 10 years on the air. A geeky internet 24-hour radio station. And please remember to rate us and review us on iTunes. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Okay,
What about next week?
I already did next week.
But we didn't say who's going to be on next week.
Oh, well... You've thrown me now.
Sorry.
You've messed up my script.
I've thrown off your groove.
You've thrown off my groove. I'm going to throw you off the top. And anyway, next week we have got Ed Blott and Patrick D. Green talking about their new film, Escaping Freedom. And that is continuing on our Pride Month celebration. So... that's it for TG Geeks Webcast this time. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357 from TG Squared Studios. I am Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind. Peace.
Cheers.